Class 9th to 12th students, this is your chance. Get a free personalized English demo session designed to boost marks and confidence. Tap the link in the description given below, select your grade, fill in your number and secure your spot today. Well, hello my 9th and 10th graders. Welcome back to Planet Spark. This is your English educator Kirti, and today we are going to cover one of the most important chapters for your grammar, which is active and passive voice. Have you ever seen the question, change the voice in your English exam and immediately felt confused? You look at the sentence, you know the answer is somewhere right in your brain, but it just refuses to come out. Well, today, that confusion ends. In the next 10 minutes, I will explain active and passive voice so clearly that you'll never be scared of voice change questions again. By the end of this video, you'll be able to transform sentences confidently and score full marks in this topic. So, let's start. Alright, so we are first going to talk about active and passive voice. We are going to talk about what exactly it is. So basically, voice shows whether subject does the action or receives it. And that is the major difference between active and passive voice. Alright, now in active voice, subject performs the action. He is the doer of the action. Right? In passive voice, the subject receives the action. We use passive voice whenever we want to focus on what happened. Right? So, like I said before, we use passive voice when we don't know who did the action, or that is not important, or we only want to focus on what happened. Now let's talk about the structure for active and passive voice. In active voice, the subject comes first, followed by the verb and then the object. For example, I threw the ball. Now, I is the subject here, threw is the verb, and the ball is the object in the sentence. In passive voice, the structure it reverses. The object comes first, followed by the helping verb, the third form of verb, then you use by, and the subject in the end. For example, let's change this sentence itself. The ball was thrown by me. So notice how the object here, right, has come in the beginning of the sentence and the subject has come in the end. Okay, so this is the structure of active and passive voice. In active voice, we focus on the subject, we focus on who did the action. In passive voice, the focus is on the action itself. The focus is definitely not on who did it. Moving on, let's talk about a few tenses rule here. The first is present simple. Is, am, are plus the third form of verb. Whenever you're changing a sentence which is in the present tense, when you change it in the passive, this is the structure. You will use either of the helping verbs is, am, are plus the third form of verb. You always have to realize and you have to always remember how important the third form of verb is whenever you're changing any sentence from active to passive voice. This is where you make mistakes. For example, I paint a picture. The sentence here is in simple present, right? Now, if I have to change it into passive, I'll use either one of the helping verbs and the third form of verb. A picture is painted by me. Now, let's talk about for past simple. Whenever you change a sentence which is in past simple from active to passive voice, this should be the structure for it. You use either of the helping verbs was and were plus the third form of it. Now, for example, I painted a picture. This is in active voice. Now, if I have to change it into passive, I'll say a picture was painted by me. I have used one of the helping verbs here and with it the third form. Also remember, you have to use by. Now, moving on to present continuous. Whenever a sentence is in present continuous and you again have to change it into passive voice, you will use is MR for the helping verbs, being, and the third form of verb. I am painting a picture. A picture is being painted by me. She is writing a letter. A letter is being written by me. So remember, being is used in present continuous tense. Whenever you are changing any sentence from active to passive voice, using being is very, very important. The fourth here is past continuous. The structure is was, were plus being plus the third form. She was writing a letter. A letter was being written by her. They were cleaning the room. The room was being cleaned by them, right? So now the only difference between present continuous and past continuous is the helping verb that you're using. In present continuous, when you're changing the sentence from active to passive, you have to use is MR, any of these helping verbs. And for past continuous, it should be was or were, any one of these helping verb, and the rest it remains same, which is being plus the third form of verb. Now moving on to the next one, which is present perfect. If any sentence is in present perfect tense, the structure for changing it into passive voice would be has, have, plus been, plus the third form of verb. For example, they have finished the project, right? Now, if we have to change the sentence from active to passive, we will say the project has been finished by them. Has been. We will use any of these helping verb depending on what the subject is, and with it been and the third form of verb. Now moving on, for past perfect, the structure to change any sentence from active to passive is had plus been plus the third form of verb. Notice here again the structure is almost similar, but for present tense we use either of this helping verb, which is has or have. For past perfect, it's just one, which is had. Now let's look at an example here. They had completed the task. If we have to change it into passive voice, we will say the task had been completed by them, right? So we are using had, we are using been, and with it, the third form of verb. Now let's talk about the next one, which is future simple. Now whenever any sentence is in future simple tense, the formula, the structure to change it into passive would be will plus be plus the third form of verb. Let's look at an example here. She will write a letter. This is an example of simple future tense, right? Now if we have to change it into passive voice, we will use will and be and the third form of verb, and the sentence would become a letter will be written by her. Another example, they will announce the results. The results will be announced by them. Will be announced. We use will be for future simple, right? We use will be. Whenever you're changing any sentence from active to passive, you'll use will be, and with it, the third form of verb. Now for modals as well, for example, can, may, must, should, right? The structure here is modal plus be plus the third form of verb. For example, she can solve the problem. Now if I have to change it into passive voice, I'll say the problem can be solved by her. The modal, it remains the same. You'll not change the modal ever. The only thing that you'll do is you'll add the helping verb be and you'll change the verb to the third form, right? Now the next example, they must follow the rules. The rules, like I said, the model remains same. We use be and with it, the third form of verb, which is followed. So the sentence becomes, the rules must be followed by them. Now moving on, when do we use passive voice? Like I mentioned before in the beginning, it is used when the doer of the action is unknown. You don't know who did the action. The next is informal writing and news, and when the action is more important. Whenever we focus on what happened, we focus on the action, right? For that time, you have to use passive voice. Moving on, we are going to discuss a few questions for your exam point of view. Change into passive. You will frequently see questions like these where you have to change a sentence into passive voice, right? There'll be a sentence which would be inactive and the question would be very simple that you simply have to change it into passive voice. The police arrested the thief. If I have to change it into passive, it would be the thief was arrested by the police. They will announce the results tomorrow. Do you remember the structure that I said? The results will be announced by them tomorrow. Now, the second type of questions that you frequently get to see in your exams is fill in the blanks. The work dash yesterday, and the verb here is complete. The work was completed yesterday, right? A new bridge built next year. A new bridge, when you're talking about next year, of course the answer would be in future, right? So it is a new bridge will be built next year. Now the third type here is identify the voice. Now in these types of questions, there will be a sentence given to you and you have to identify the voice. The cake was baked by Reena. Any guesses? The sentence here is in passive voice. Now the second sentence here is Reena baked the cake. Any guesses? Yes, it is in active voice. You can see here we have used the third form of the verb, which is baked. There is the use of by, so you can easily identify that this sentence is in passive voice. And in the second one, there is the use of second form of verb and there is no by, right? So I think it's very easy to understand here that it is in active voice. Now moving on, I also have a few questions for your homework. So try these, take a screenshot. So today we learned that in active voice, the subject performs the action. And in passive voice, the subject receives the action. We also learned that structure, the tense rules, and how to avoid the common mistakes. Remember this simple formula. Object first, correct helping verb, and third form of the verb. If you practice regularly, this topic will become very, very easy for you. Now, if this video helped you understand active and passive voice clearly, please like the video, share it with your classmates and subscribe to the channel for more class 9th and 10th English videos. I'll see you in the next one. Thank you. Class 9th to 12th students, this is your chance. Get a free personalized English demo session designed to boost marks and confidence. Tap the link in the description given below, select your grade, fill in your number and secure your spot today.